In the heart of Lagos, where power is loud and wealth is worn like armor, one careless act triggered a quiet storm. She was just a cleaner, hungry, tired, unseen. But when a rich fashion influencer named Veronica splashed mud on her and laughed, she didn't know someone powerful was watching. Someone who had once loved a woman, just like that cleaner, and lost her. The city moved on, but he didn't. From that moment, Emma's life began to change, without her knowing. In a world where the rich step over the poor, this time, one girl would rise, not by force, but by grace, character, and silent favor. A framed photo sat on the glass table, dusty but dignified. Chief Obinna held it gently. In it, a younger version of his late wife, Ifeoma, smiled beside a girl not more than 6. He sighed deeply. Ifeoma didn't deserve this world, he murmured. His assistant, Depo, stood silently nearby. Sir, should I look into it? Obinna shook his head slowly, still gazing the photo. Not yet. Let's give it time. The streets have their way of revealing truth. Across the table, a file labeled Emanula Okafor. Cleaning staff sat unopened, but not for long. Veronica Ideal admired her reflection in a full-length gold-trimmed mirror. Her custom lace wig was laid perfectly, and her Ankara kimono swayed as she turned. She wore her name like a crown, Lagos' most followed fashion influencer, and daughter of real estate tycoon Alhaji Ideal. Her phone buzzed endlessly. DM notifications, endorsement alerts, fan messages. Imagine that cleaner standing close to my ride. She scoffed, sipping from her imported smoothie. She should be glad I didn't splash her soul away. Her assistant, Kamsi, chuckled nervously. You're right, V. Veronica adjusted her gold chain. People like her should stay invisible. The day had barely begun, but Emanula Emma, Okafor, was already worn out. She bent down to scrub the last of the hotel corridor, her back stiff and aching. Her uniform, now her only one, still bore dried stain from yesterday's mud splash. But she carried herself with quiet strength, whispering, Lord, just help me survive today. At noon, she took a break behind the Crownville Hotel. Her lunch? A piece of Accra wrapped in nylon, and a sachet of water. Sitting on a crate, she unwrapped the food slowly, hands trembling, not from fear but fatigue. She ate quietly, like someone used to being unseen. A man walked by slowly, blending in. Baseball cap, dark sunglasses. He paused, pretended to scroll through his phone, but his eyes were on Emma. He noticed her grace, even in struggle. She reminded him of someone, his mother, her hands, the way she sat with dignity, the way she checked her old phone for a call that never came. That image stayed with him. The man, Obinna's son, Chitty, walked on, but something shifted inside him. She doesn't know it yet, he thought, but her story is about to change, because I'm going to change it. The rooster crowed before 5 a.m. Emanula stirred quietly, careful not to wake her younger sister, Olivie. She tiptoed around their cramped single room and began ironing her backup uniform, the only one not stained with dried mud. The electric current was low, so she pressed over a stove flame. She whispered gently to her sleeping sister, You must become more than this. After packing dry Gary and groundnut for Olivie's school lunch, she tied her shoes and kissed her forehead. Be good at school, okay? The little girl smiled. You too, Emmy. The strength of an entire family rested on one girl's shoulders. The bus ride to Victoria Island was long, noisy, and packed. Emanula sat by the window, her body swaying with every pothole the driver didn't dodge. She stared out blankly as the conductor shouted, 6, Abelen, CMS. Her stomach churned, not with hunger, but from anxiety. That woman from yesterday, she hadn't even looked back. Just sped off, ruining her day. Emma clenched her jaw, but she refused to dwell in anger. She pulled out her old Nokia phone and checked the time. 7:42 a.m. If she didn't clock in by 8 o'clock, her salary would be docked again. She prayed silently. Emma opened her dented locker. A folded paper bag sat inside, neatly wrapped and unfamiliar. She froze. No one ever gave her anything. Slowly, she unwrapped it. Inside was a new, neatly ironed cleaner's uniform and a small handwritten note. "Keep your head up. It gets better." There was no signature. She looked around. The room was empty. Her hands shook. For the first time in a long while, someone saw her. Not as a cleaner, not as a poor girl, just as a person. She pressed the note to her chest, tears threatening, but she held them back. Veronica strutted into the hotel lobby in 6-inch heels, a designer bag swinging on her arm like a trophy. "Make sure my room smells like vanilla this time, not lavender," she barked at the receptionist. Behind her, photographers took subtle shots. She loved being noticed. Emma was wiping the floor near the entrance, head low. Veronica paused and narrowed her eyes. "Isn't that the same cleaner from yesterday?" she sneered. "She still has a job?" Kamsi whispered nervously. "I think so." Veronica scoffed. "This hotel needs to clean its staff too." But someone was watching. From a distance, Chitty took mental notes. Chitty Ideal leaned against the wall, pretending to take a phone call, but his eyes followed Veronica and Emanuela closely. The contrast between them made him uneasy, one flaunting excess, the other surviving invisibly. He remembered his late mother, Ifioma. She was never loud, never rich, but had dignity that filled a room. Emanuela reminded him of her. There's pain behind her silence, he thought, but also strength. He looked down at his phone and opened the hotel staff profile database. He tapped on Emanuela's name. Something about her story was calling out to him, and he was ready to answer. Emma stood in front of the restroom mirror, splashing water on her face. Her cheeks were hot. Veronica's words still rang in her ears. They need to clean the staff, too. Emma pressed her hands against the sink. "Ignore her. Focus," she whispered. She pulled out the note again. "Keep your head up. It gets better." She stared at it like it was scripture. "Who gave me this?" she murmured. There was no name, no clue, but it made her feel seen. Underappreciated didn't mean unworthy. And today, something inside her, however small, began to shift. Chitty slipped quietly into the conference room, where his father's real estate team was holding a presentation. Crownville Hotel had just been acquired by the Obina Group, and most of the staff didn't know it yet. Chitty sat in the back, blending in. His plan wasn't just business. It was personal. He wanted to understand what kind of world his mother once navigated, and the kind of system that rewarded people like Veronica while crushing people like Emma. If I'm going to run this empire, he thought, I'll rewrite its rules. A new kind of legacy was forming. Emma stepped outside for a breather. The sun was beginning to set over Lagos Island, bathing the city in a warm orange glow. She sat on a short pavement near the service exit, watching people in fine clothes walk past without seeing her. But today felt different. She was still tired, still underpaid. But she had hope, not from money, not from comfort, but from that simple gesture in the locker. It reminded her that light still exists in the world. Somewhere, someone had seen her, and though she didn't know it yet, that person was watching still and planning something big. Veronica lay on a heated massage bed while her nails were being painted gold. She scrolled through social media, liking only her own tag photos. "Kamsi, did you see the hotel cleaner again today?" she asked casually. Kamsi hesitated. "Yes, she's still there." Veronica rolled her eyes. These people don't even know when to disappear. No class, no ambition. She sipped her detox tea and smiled. "Anyway, I have an influencer brunch this weekend. Get my white feathers dress ready." Kamsi nodded, but even she was beginning to feel uneasy. Something about the way Veronica treated others was starting to feel wrong. Emma stood nervously before Mr. Fat Eye, the hotel supervisor. He glanced at a file on his table. "You've been late 3 times this month," he said without looking up. "Sir, it's the traffic from Adjugunal." I leave home before sunrise. We don't pay for excuses here, he cut in. Emma swallowed hard. Her palms were sweaty. Next time, you'll lose a day's wage. She bowed slightly, whispered, "Yes, sir," and walked out behind the tinted window. Chitty had been watching the entire exchange. His jaw tightened. "So, this is how they treat her?" he muttered. He sent a quick text. "Have the GM call me. Now." That evening, Emma stood in a long queue at the bus stop, clutching her polythene bag of soaked uniform. Her shoulders sagged, but her eyes held quiet resilience. A loud Danfo conductor shouted, "CMS 6, no change, oh." She got into the rusty bus, squeezing between strangers. As the bus pulled away, a black tinted SUV slowed beside it. Chitty sat inside, watching. "She doesn't even know I've been beside her twice today," he said quietly. "Tomorrow I start the first move." The driver asked, "Sir, where to?" Chitty looked ahead. "We follow the girl but stay hidden. No interference yet." The next morning, Emma walked into the staff room and froze. Her name was on the new schedule board, but her shift had been changed. Cleaners rarely got morning slots unless promoted. Her name now read, "Executive Floor, Daily Supervisor Assistant Probation." Her hands trembled. She turned to ask who changed it, but no one seemed to know. Mr. Fat-Eye hadn't arrived yet. "What's going on?" she whispered. A few other cleaners stared, whispering. She didn't know who did this. All she knew was her life had just shifted slightly. A new road had opened, and someone powerful had paved it. Emma walked through the polished corridor with wide eyes. This was a part of the hotel she'd never cleaned before, where rich guests stayed, and every corner smelled of imported lemon wax. The floor glowed beneath her polished shoes. She carried a lighter cleaning kit now, nothing like the heavy mop bucket she was used to. She passed by glass offices and fancy rooms, heart-pounding. 2 managers nodded at her. A senior staff even smiled. For the first time, she wasn't invisible. She didn't know how she got here, but she refused to waste the opportunity. Chitty watched the security screen silently. On one of them, Emma moved carefully along the corridor, cleaning a door handle. He smiled faintly. That's where she belongs, among light, not in the shadows. His assistant, Jide, entered. "Sir, the general manager confirmed your message. The promotion has been marked as a temporary evaluation." Chitty nodded. "Let her rise on her own. We're just holding the door open." Jide hesitated. "Sir, what about Miss Veronica? She caused this whole thing." Chitty's expression hardened. "We're not done with her. But first, let's finish building Emma's story. Then she'll see who she splashed." Veronica was having brunch with 2 other socialites. She sipped from her wine glass and laughed loudly. "Can you believe that hotel cleaner is now working on the executive floor?" One of her friends raised a brow. "Seriously? How did that happen?" Veronica rolled her eyes. Maybe she bribed someone with sob stories. These types always want pity. She flipped her Brazilian curls and posed for a selfie. But let her enjoy it. People like her don't last long at the top. They all laughed, but Kamsi, standing at the side with her phone, didn't. A quiet look of regret shadowed her face. Emma sat alone with her lunch tray. She still ate quietly, still wrapped her food the same way. Just a boiled egg, 2 slices of bread, and water. But now, some staff greeted her differently. Others stared. "She's the one from Adjugunal," she overheard. How did she climb so fast? She smiled faintly, ignoring them. She wasn't here to impress anyone. She just wanted peace. Behind her, Chitty entered silently, dressed like a casual guest. He watched her from a distance, smiling, still humble, still steady, he thought. Good. This story is still writing itself. Veronica strutted into Crownville in her high heels, the sound of her steps echoing like she owned the building. Guests turned to admire her confidence, her flowing silk gown, her designer bag. As she passed the front desk, she tossed a glance at the cleaners mopping nearby. Then she froze. Emma stood beside the concierge, wearing a branded badge, assistant supervisor, probation, and giving instructions to a junior cleaner. Veronica's smile dropped. "Wait, is that not?" she muttered. Her jaw clenched. Something didn't feel right. Emma didn't even look in her direction. That silent power hit Veronica harder than a slap. Later that evening, Chitty invited the hotel's board members to a casual dinner upstairs. They discussed new policies, guest experiences, and staff training. Also, Chitty added, "I want a monthly mentorship program for junior staff." The older board members looked surprised. "For cleaners?" one asked. Chitty smiled. "Exactly. We're not just managing a hotel. We're managing destinies." They chuckled, unsure if he was serious. But Chitty wasn't smiling anymore. His mind was on Emma and the hundreds like her who had been ignored for years. That was about to change permanently. That night, Emma sat by the kerosene lamp helping Olivia with homework. "Auntie Emmy," the little girl whispered, "they gave you promotion today?" Emma chuckled. "How did you know?" "Because your eyes are smiling even if your face is tired." Emma pulled her close. "God sees everything, Livy, even when we feel invisible." She reached under the bed and pulled out a clean uniform, the one she had scrubbed for days. "Tomorrow I wear this one proudly. No shame." Olivia clapped. Outside, the wind blew softly through the wooden windows. Peace for the first time in a long time. Veronica stepped out of her Range Rover and paused as the valet took her keys. She noticed Emma walking across the compound. Clean uniform, polished shoes, confident steps. Emma nodded respectfully. Veronica didn't respond. She just stared, a mix of confusion and disbelief in her eyes. "Is this some kind of joke?" she hissed to herself. Kamsi, her assistant, tried to change the subject. "Your brunch meeting is upstairs, Ma." Veronica turned sharply. "Tell them I'll be late." Something about Emma's calmness made her feel exposed, and for the first time, she realized she might be losing control of the narrative. Emma arranged flower vases in the lounge, carefully aligning them by the wide windows. Just then, a guest stepped in, a well-dressed woman in her 60s, with poise and quiet class. Emma greeted her warmly. "Good afternoon, Ma." The woman paused. "You're not just a cleaner, are you?" Emma smiled faintly. "No, Ma. I'm learning to become more." The woman nodded slowly. "I like that." Moments later, Chitty walked in. The woman turned. "There you are, nephew." Emma froze. "Nephew?" Chitty smiled and hugged the woman. "Auntie Dupe, meet someone special. This is Emma." Dupe extended her hand. Emma's heart raced. Meanwhile, Veronica barged into the hotel security room. "I need to see the footage from last week. Car park, Tuesday afternoon," she demanded. The guards exchanged glances. "Madam, only hotel management." "Don't test me," she snapped. They hesitated, then played the clip. There was her SUV splashing Emma with muddy water. Veronica stood frozen. Then Chitty appeared on screen, watching from a distance. Her stomach dropped. "He saw," she whispered. Panic crept into her voice. "He saw everything." She stormed out, shaking. This wasn't about a cleaner anymore. This was a time bomb, and she was sitting on it. Chitty and Dupe sat under a shade, sipping Chapman. Emma stood nearby, assisting with the staff tour. "I want to invest in something meaningful," Dupe said. "Something with women, hard-working ones." Chitty gestured toward Emma. "She's the reason I started this idea." I watched her carry pain with dignity. Dupe smiled, then let her lead it. Emma turned, startled. "Ma." "A foundation," Dupe said, "for girls like you. You'll help pick them. You'll show them how to rise." Emma blinked back tears. "But I'm just a cleaner." Chitty interrupted softly. "Not anymore." Veronica stared blankly at her ceiling. Her phone buzzed, but she ignored it. Every image from the past week replayed in her mind. The splash, the silence, the shift in power. She was nothing, she muttered. How is she winning now? On her vanity table, her influencer awards glinted, but they felt empty. She picked up her phone and scrolled. Emma's name had started trending quietly on staff WhatsApp groups. Cleaner turned role model. One caption read, Veronica's hands trembled. For the first time in her life, envy was eating her alive. The lobby buzzed as Emma walked in holding a folder. She was now assisting with onboarding new cleaners, part of her probation task. As she passed, several staff nodded in respect. Even guests greeted her. But just ahead, Veronica waited near the elevator. She blocked Emma's path. You think this changes anything? She hissed. Emma looked at her calmly. No, Veronica, I didn't change. I only stopped hiding. Veronica's smile curled with contempt. You'll fall. Girls like you always do. Emma leaned closer and whispered, then watch me rise again. And again, the elevator dinged. Emma stepped in, leaving Veronica behind in silence. A modest stage was set at the waterfront. Banners read, Empower her, from the ground up. Hotel staff, media, and local girls gathered under canopies. Emma stood in a plain yet elegant dress, speaking into a microphone. This isn't just my story, she said, voice trembling. It's every girl who's been stepped on and kept walking. Chitty and Duke clapped in the front row. Olivia stood beside them, eyes sparkling with pride. In the distance, Veronica watched from inside a tinted car, engine running. She lowered her sunglasses slightly, eyes locked on Emma. For the first time, she wasn't mocking. She was learning.